Obama speaking before a welcoming crowd at Stanford University talking about cyber hacking. He is right now signing the executive order where he would very much prefer and like if U.S. companies work with the government to share ideas, not just with the government, but with each other, so that you can then put up impenetrable walls against cyber hackers. Here is the question right now. Can U.S. companies, from banks to hospitals to shopping websites, battle hack attacks with the help of the U.S. government and at the same time protect consumer privacy? This is one of the most hotly debated topics among both company CEOs and Washington insiders, along with Silicon Valley big shots. President Obama joined tech leaders like Tim Cook from Apple, as well as business leaders of Bank of America, like Brian Moynihan. This happened, as I mentioned, at Stanford University, but the real mission is to tackle the real problem that we now see, whether it's ISIS hacking into CENTCOM, yeah, that happened just a month ago, or you've got businesses such as insurance companies getting hacked and millions of people's private information stolen. Let's put this up to debate. We have Tom Kellerman right now. He is a true expert on all of this when it comes to cyber protection. Trend Micro Chief Security Officer. Tom, you heard about this executive order. Does this solve any problems?
It's a step in the right direction. Realistically, we need legislation here. Congress needs to recognize and appreciate this is a patriotic issue. We need greater information sharing. We need a data breach law to mandate reporting so there's no more plausible deniability. And we need greater investment by both the private sector and the government into next generation security and response.
Okay, but why, if I'm a company, do I want to share any information, not just with my competitors, but also with the government, who, by the way, with the NSA drama that happened and there were leaks and all kinds of issues about surveillance, people lost contracts with foreign companies who said, wait a minute, your government is spying, you're allowing them in even if you don't even realize it.
So that is a dilemma. We definitely need to reform the Federal Information Surveillance Act. That being said, and we need greater cooperation to understand essentially what's going on in our cyber neighborhoods. We need to understand what was seen last night. Essentially, the president is advocating the creation of a neighborhood watch. And we need to be able to participate in that ecosystem to understand the situational awareness of when the attacks have begun, not only what manifested, but more importantly, what should we be expecting next.
I like your analogy with the neighborhood watch. If people are indeed keeping their eye out, not just for themselves, but everybody else. We've got Pete Pachal of Mashable right now. And Pete, you heard the president. Give us a sense of what you think about what he stated here.
Well, I think the framework that he's proposing is a good step in the right direction. I think we're seeing a good initial step of a private-public cooperation and sharing more data. And certainly the idea that Department of Homeland Security getting involved has advantages, but it also has disadvantages. And as we've sort of been talking about, the idea that the federal government is now, it's easier to exchange data with private corporations makes a lot of these corporations a little nervous. And you're seeing the effect of that in the amount of tech CEOs that aren't at this conference. So you're not seeing Mark Zuckerberg, Marissa Mayer, Larry Page. None of them are at the Cybersecurity Summit because there's a lot of issues that are kind of unresolved about the surveillance aspects of
Mark Zuckerberg, of course, runs and created Facebook. I look at Facebook. I don't use it that much, but it seems pretty darn secure. And I saw a quote from somebody who said, Facebook, Tom, probably has better firewalls than much of the U.S. government. Now, we saw what happened January 12th, where CENTCOM, Central Command's website and Twitter accounts, they were hacked. And then as people dug a little deeper into exactly what happened, ISIS was putting up signs and all kinds of notices on these sites. Turned out that they had one person running it. Nothing was encrypted. I mean, that is just outrageous. The president just issued that warning and said, if your password is password or your birthday or 1234557, I mean, come on, that's not really encrypting anything.
Concur. I mean, realistically, we need to improve our security posture dramatically. We're dealing with not only nation states, but terrorist groups and criminal groups that have all migrated with the adoption of various weapons. Cyber weapons are widely available online that can bypass most traditional security defenses. And that being said, everyone continues to see cybersecurity as an expense rather than a functionality of doing business. And it's getting quite irritating to those of us who really care, for those of us who actually can see what the enemy's up to.
Well, I think anybody who owns a stock in a company that's been hacked, okay, let's just say Anthem, for example. Anthem had 81 million of their clients and their information compromised. Pete, I look at that and I say, wait a minute, that is definitely going to affect a stock. So this does matter to people's money, does it not?
It matters to people's money. It matters to people's information. It's really, if you're a company and you have not, if you have any digital presence at all and you have not invested in cybersecurity, you know, wake up. The threats are increasing. They're more common. They're more real. You only have to look at the most recent hacks of
Pete,
Anthem and Sony.
Maybe the issue is that we don't need the government exactly to come in to help us, but we could use some of their money, at least for companies whose information is so crucial that it cannot be compromised. Tom, I see you're nodding.
Well, I think at a minimum, the government should be able to create some sort of cyber 911 system where you can, if you as a corporation have been impacted, you can reach out to someone at Department of Homeland Security for assistance in that breach.
Well, isn't that funny that you say that? Because, and I don't mean to interrupt, but that's when the president said, I wish Sony had called us. A lot of people turned their noses up at that comment, but Sony said, you know, we actually did. So maybe there needs to be a better phone line, like you said, a 911 direct line to something like that. Or let us throw out this. Maybe the answer is the universities themselves, the real think tanks. He was at Stanford. I know that Berkeley and Stanford just got to split $45 million from the Hewlett Foundation to set up cybersecurity anti-hacking labs. Pete, our universities churn out the best and the brightest. MIT, I'll throw that out. You know, perhaps they're the ones who have the real solutions here.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, there's money in all of these places and the government that could help various corporations and even startups invest more in this. I think a certain amount of, if you share data and you're an active a participant in cybersecurity in the community, in the online community, and that, you know, there could be a reward system in place, I think is a great idea, and I'd love to see more of that happen. Yeah,
the X Prize for cyber hacking. We have Dave Dewalt on the phone. He was in that meeting with the president. He is the CEO of Fireeye. Dave, aside from the fact that your stock is jumping about 11% over the past day and a half here because you are among the best in the business, tell us what was the main takeaway point you feel will be most valuable regarding what the president said and did.
Yeah, thank you for having me. First of all, probably education would be the top topic. I mean, I think it was really important to hear the president educate the world, and particularly the audience today, on sort of the perils and some of the issues that we're seeing in the world. And obviously, this is a great first step that he's laying out to begin to put in an agency to do threat intelligence sharing, as well as really a step in the direction of really improving cybersecurity for not just America, but for the world.
For the world. But Dave, what did people respond to most? And I noticed that there was a lot of applause when he talked about passwords that are really kind of useless. That seems almost basic to me. Aren't we a little deeper than passwords at this point, or maybe not?
Yeah, we all laughed very loudly as he described his own password usage as password and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. But I think what really the point there was is we've got to evolve a bit, and authentication, multi-factor authentication, some of the technologies that we have, some of the things that Tim Cook laid out with Apple, as well as what RJ laid out with MasterCard, were really important too. How do we evolve to personal identifiable passwords, wristbands, EKG information, retina scans, ways to really identify yourself so that we can avoid fraud.
We weren't on the inside there. Can you tell us quickly what Tim Cook said that you thought was really important?
Well, he laid out, I think, the future where he was baking in security from the very beginning of some of the services that he was laying out, in particular Apple Pay. And in Apple Pay's case, you know, how do we go about securing better, not worrying about storing information, storing credit card data, but really creating a one-time usage of a token to make a transaction that can never breach privacy or security. So I think this revelation there is just the evolution of sort of how we do commerce online and how Apple is approaching it.
Well, Tom, I think the Apple Pay and all of the mobile payments, I mean, Harvard is going to have a huge conference in March with payments, PYMNTS. I mean, this is a massive, massive issue because people want to pay online. It's so easy, but that may very well be what draws the line between security and really stepping it up.
Well, the future of pickpocketing is mobile payments. Let's get real here. There is more mobile malware out there than we've ever seen before. In actually the last 5 years, we've seen an increase of mobile malware by over 10,000%. What we need to experience and appreciate here is that very few members of society actually even have anti-malware security on their mobile devices, and yet they're using them for payment instruments now. Highly problematic, and honestly, all business leaders really need to focus on both their mobile security strategies and their cloud security strategies if they want to manage this risk.
Because we're all working on the weekends through our phones and our laptops,
right.
All that. Great to have all of you. Thank you so much. Tom, we thank Pete, and Dave, thank you for getting on the phone right after that meeting. We truly appreciate it.